Hello everyone, back into today's second video doing GWV Sunday Round Up for today's second video. So this is going to be your Sunday afternoon eclectic mix of bits and bats. Going to be looking at things like solar activity, sea surface temperature anomalies, what's happening with ENSO, the Southern Oscillation Index, the Quasi-Biennial Oscillation Index, the QBO, the AO, the NEO, and the weather next week, 10 days as well, and more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And I'll talk you through today's Sunday Round Up very shortly. Just to say that the 7th Summer 2020 Analogs update was released as the first video up today, and that one quite anticipated, I think, for a lot of people. It's looking at summers following the warmest Aprils on record, and a lot of people have asked me about what the summers could be like following the very warm April that we've just had. Yeah, that's answering quite a lot of questions that people have, I think. So have a look at the summer update, and that's been placed on the summer updates page with a written summary this evening. I'll get that up for you around 7-8 o'clock tonight. Going to be live streaming between 5 and 6 on the YouTube channel. Videos embedded into GWV.com's homepage, and I'll share it on social media as well, so you can have a listen to that, see how we're all doing while we remain in lockdown. And as I say, we'll be starting at 5 o'clock tonight. Now, before I do anything else, I've got to share some pictures with you. So, this one was sent in several days ago, back in April, by Harry Walker. This was emailed to me by Harry Walker. It's at Holme Moss, overlooking Huddersfield. Harry was walking his neighbour's dog and took this fantastic picture from Holme Moss looking over Huddersfield with that amazing deep blue sky there that we see. Apparently, I read a report a few days ago, because there aren't so many planes flying around at the moment due to the lockdown and due to the coronavirus, we are having bluer skies than normal. But that really was a very, very deep blue sky that Harry managed to picture back in April. Sometimes it takes you a little while to get round to show the pictures. I will get round to them though when people email them to me. It's just a matter of when I can fit them into the videos. But do email your pictures to us, and when we get the chance, we love to show those. We've also got these from Liam Kenwood down in Maidstone. Liam had a thunderstorm, an unexpected thunderstorm, a couple of days ago, and there we see the evidence of lightning flashing across the sky, classic sort of sheet lightning there, proper lightning bolts too. A little bit unforecast, I think, that for Liam. He was quite surprised, but yes, classic lightning pictures there from Maidstone. And after the storm, Liam managed to see a little bit of mammatus, the clouds that we tend to see once the storm moves away. So Liam managed to take a couple of pictures of some mammatus clouds as well. So a big thank you to Harry and to Liam for sending those through to us. If you would like to have your weather pictures featured within the videos when we get a bit of time, then email them to us at gazovs@gmail.com or share them with us on our social media accounts. We always have lots and lots of fantastic pictures shared with us on Twitter, and I never have time to go through all of those, but I will show you a couple of those probably in a day or so's time. We do always have some almost professional, I think they are professional photographers actually, who take their weather pictures and share them with us on Twitter. So I'll have to share a couple of those in a video in the next few days. But yeah, share them with us on our social media accounts. Email them to us at gazovs@gmail.com, and when we get a bit of time, we are always very, very happy to show your weather pictures. A big thank to Harry and for Liam for doing that. Right, moving on with Sunday Round Up then, and this is how things are currently looking on the solar disk on our side of this day from solarham.net. So we don't have any sunspots at the moment today. It's a spotless solar disk, and therefore solar activity is at very low levels, and is expected to remain at very low levels for the next 3 days at least. And that's reported by solarham.net, of course. We have had a little bit more activity over the past few days. This is regardless of his solar activity tracker sent through to us by a good friend James Ackwood. This is updated up to yesterday, the 2nd of May. The orange line is depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. And a few days ago, we did actually have quite a little burst of sunspot activity. So Sunspot 25 is beginning to increase a little bit. We are still at solar minimum, don't get me wrong. We remain at solar minimum and will be staying at solar minimum for the next few weeks, probably the next few months as well. But very, very gradually, we are beginning to inch our way into solar cycle 25 now. Just beginning to get a little bit more activity, I think, for solar cycle 25. Although I would suspect we will still get protracted periods like today when there's no sunspots. But very, very gradually, we're beginning to move into solar cycle 25. And I don't think it's going to be very long before we get an announcement from NASA now telling us that we have entered into solar cycle 25. It could even already have happened. We may already sort of be in solar cycle 25, and the announcement will tell us that we entered into it like in April or March or something like that. So it's possible we have already entered solar cycle 25, but if we haven't, I don't think it'll be very long now before we get the official announcement that solar cycle 25 has begun. You can see overall from the trend lines, though, the thick green and thick red, you can see that they are still really flatlining on the floor of the chart. So despite that little burst of activity we had a few days ago, actually we are still at very, very low levels of solar activity, and we continue to be at solar minimum, but just ever so gradually we might be starting to see the first signs of solar cycle 25 beginning to wake up. This has been sent for us just by a good friend Richard Traup. This is showing spotless days and the current spotless stretch. So for 2020 so far, we have 92 days without any sunspots. That's 75% of the year so far. That's come down a little bit from last week, and the reason that's happened is that we have had that burst of slightly more active sunspots a few days ago. 2019 has 281 days without sunspots. That's 77% of the year. So 2020, 2019, very, very deep solar minimum. So although that's come down slightly, that percentage for the year so far, but it's still very deep solar minimum, and we remain at solar minimum. It's just that we are very, very slowly perhaps seeing the first indications of solar cycle 25 waking up. But it will be quite a while, I think, before we see the solar cycle really taking off. I've got to think it's going to be a slow, like solar cycle 24 was, a slow sort of ramp up into solar cycle 25. So I think we've got plenty more of this solar minimum still to go. Big thank you to James and to Richard for sending the data through to us. That's absolutely great. Thanks so much for doing that. Right, so let's move on to sea surface temperature anomalies, and we can still show you the old sea surface temperature anomaly maps from, no, I'm not sure how long I'll be able to do this for, but there is still a workaround. I still am able to get the old 50 km global SST anomaly maps for you. So this is how things will look going in last week's GWV Sunday Round. We've got our 3 areas of interest: the ENSO region just there, the Northern Pacific over here, and then the North Atlantic over there. So that's how things looked when we did last week's GWV Sunday Round Up. Well, let's have a look at the very latest. That's it. So dealing with the ENSO region first. This is from the 30th of April, by the way. Latest map I can show you. Dealing with the ENSO region first of all. Very little change. We're still at ENSO neutral. We're going to be staying at ENSO neutral. I keep saying this week after week, but we're going to be staying at ENSO neutral for the time being. And that's where we've been for the last few weeks as well. What we can see is that there is a little bit more in way of blue patches appear. These are slightly, on this scale anyway, temperature scale, these are slightly colder than average sea surface temperature. It's not enough yet to say that we've got a La Nina signal here at all. You will need need this to go a lot colder, really, to be able to say we've got a La Nina signal. But there are one or two blue patches beginning to appear. So a slight cool down has taken place through the ENSO region of the equatorial Pacific Ocean compared to last week. And that situation last week, this is situation this week. I think you see there has been a definite cool down over the past week, but we're still well and truly at ENSO neutral. It's not enough yet to say we've got a La Nina signal. Going further north into the North Pacific, again, that's how things looked last week. It's how things looking this week. So very gradually, this area of warmer than average sea surface temperature anomalies is nibbling away at this colder than average area that we have just here. It's very, very gradually nibbling away at it. Still quite an area of cold average sea surface temperature anomalies there. But up here off the coast of Alaska and Canada, there we really are starting to get a reduction now of those cold average sea surface temperature. So I suspect this area is probably going to go quite warm again over the next few weeks and months. It's been a semi-permanent feature over the past few years, really, to have it warmer than average up here. It's connected to the warm Pacific decadal oscillation, I think. So I would expect that's going to go warm. This area here may maintain cold average sea surface temperature anomalies, especially if we get a La Nina going. We'll have to wait and see about that. And then in terms of the North Atlantic, again, that's how things looked last week. This is how things look this week. Very little change. The tropical Atlantic down here remains significantly above average. Gulf of Mexico remains warmer than average too. So again, this is telling us that if it carries on into the summer, particularly if it's combined with a developing La Nina, then we will probably have an active hurricane season. Going further north, the northern Atlantic still looks rather cold and average to south of Greenland. And things getting a little bit cooler at times, I think, over towards the eastern side of America as well. Norwegian Sea also looking relatively cold. They've had a cold spring up there in northern Scandinavia, I think, and that has cooled things down in the Norwegian Sea to some degree. We have to get used to the new version of the sea surface temperature anomaly maps. I know a lot of you aren't all that impressed with them. But this is going to be the way forward. At some point, NOAA will stop us being able to access the old version of the sea surface temperature anomaly map. So we've got to get used to these. So I thought I'd include this as well. So that's how it looks on the new view. ENSO region, and this is updated to the 1st of May, by the way. ENSO region, possibly looking a little bit cooler, close to average really, or a little bit cooler in some areas. So there's the blue patches also showing up there. In the northern Pacific, again, that's the warm area that's infiltrating in towards Canada and Alaska. The cold average area shrinking. We do still have this cold average area sea surface temperature anomalies just here in the Atlantic. Again, you can see how warm the tropical Atlantic is generally. Going further north, the cold blob doesn't look quite as extensive to south of Greenland. Actually, the sea surface temperature anomalies just to the south of Greenland do look a little bit more warmer than average on that view compared to the old view. But anyway, that's how the two compare. That's like the view that we're used to, the old version. That's the new version. We have got to get used to the new version because at some point these old anomaly maps will be discontinued by NOAA and we'll have to go then into using the new version exclusively. Southern Oscillation Index next. This is an index that's measuring the atmospheric state in the southern Pacific Ocean, measuring air pressures between Darwin and Tahiti to tell you what sort of ENSO state the atmosphere is in. So when the SY is in its negative phase, then the atmospheric state is going to be reflective of El Nino. When the SY is in its positive phase, the atmospheric state will be reflective of La Nina. If we come down to the daily returns, we can see, and these are preliminary, but they don't tend to change all that much. This is from Queensland Government, by the way, which I think is part of Bureau of Meteorology. So 25th and 26th of April coming out -3 and -7, so atmospheric state there rather reflective of an El Nino. However, by the 28th of April we're up to +3, by 29th of April we're up to +6, When we go sort of neutral, so those two numbers are kind of reflective of a weak landing state. These two numbers just here reflective of ENSO neutral. And then we've got some more positive numbers. 2nd of May at +3 and the 3rd of May, but ahead of us, of course, in Australia at +7.22. So perhaps entering a slightly more positive phase of the SOI right now. And that is lifting up the 30-day SOI average quite substantially as well. You can see that the red line back at the beginning of April was down there around -7 for the 30-day SY average. Now it's just above 0. So that's quite a significant increase in the SY 30-day average during the course of April. This could be an indication that we've got a landing beginning to get going. We know that some of the model output, particularly the CFS-V2, has been keen to move us into a landing through this spring and into summer. I can tell you it's still going, but I won't show you the chart today, but CFS is still forecasting us to go into a weak landing anyway by the middle part of the summer. So yes, it could be that that the SOI is beginning to move, the atmospheric state is beginning to move. If it does, then that could start to begin to see the development of the cold event, the landing taking off. So all eyes will be on the SOI and the sea surface temperature in the ENSO region over the next few weeks. This is how Eurasian snow cover is looking. So again, week by week, we are very rapidly losing the snow cover now across Russia and Siberia. It's very, very quickly going and receding both northwards and eastwards. Over across Scandinavia, as I say, they've had quite a cold spring. Despite a very mild winter, northern parts of Scandinavia have had quite a cold spring. That's cooled down the Norwegian Sea. And we do still have quite a lot of snow cover, actually, across particularly many parts of Norway. Quite a lot of snow cover across many parts of Norway, but also northern parts of Sweden, northern parts of Finland as well. So it's been rather a delayed spring, despite the fact they did have an extremely mild winter. Snow cover has kind of hung on quite a lot through this spring across the northern parts of Scandinavia. All of this will become snow-free in the next few weeks, of course. In the Arctic, the yellow area is where we've got Arctic sea ice. So, of course, we're into the melt season now. Still plenty of ice up there, of course. We're just coming out of winter, but Arctic sea ice melt season is well and truly underway. So this is from, I forget the name of this website, National Snow and Ice Data Centre. It's Arctic sea ice news and analysis. The blue line shows that the melt season excuse me, the blue line shows that melt season is underway. That's where it currently is in terms of Arctic sea ice extent right now. If we put some long-term averages in, so this is the 2011 to 2019 average, we are very much on a par, actually, with our most recent 10-year average. We're under the 2001 to 2010 average quite significantly so. And of course, we are very well under the 91 2079 to 1990 average, but we are on a par with our sort of most recent 10-year average. So, of course, we're going to bottom out with Arctic sea ice sort of end of August, early September. We'll be down here somewhere, probably. Again, it'll be a case of how big a melt season do we have as we go through this summer. All will be revealed in the next few weeks and next few months. QBO, next, quasi-biennial oscillation. This is an index that's reflecting the strength of the zone of westerlies, essentially. So all of these, none of these indexes are driving anything in their own terms. They're all just indexes that tell you what the atmospheric state is doing. And the QBO, when it's westerly, you strengthen the zonal westerlies. When the QBO is easterly, you sort of weaken the zonal westerlies. So negative numbers on this chart are the easterly QBO, positive numbers are the westerly QBO. So for example, in 1975 we have, opening months anyway, a strong easterly QBO that then draws to a close through the summer of 1975, and we go into westerly phase of the QBO, and that westerly phase of the QBO carries us through the winter of 75-76, which was a very mild and westerly winter. Then it reverses through the summer of 76, goes back easterly again, and so the winter of 76-77 was an easterly QBO, a strong easterly QBO winter that one, and that ECQBO then carries on through most of 1977 until we get to December, and there we go, first positive number, it begins to go back westerly again, and then in 1978 we have the westerly phase of the QBO through most of 1978, and you can see how this is waxing and waning, very reliable intervals. It's almost like a pulse, really. It's very regular, going from the westerly phase to the EC phase, and back to westerly phase, back to the EC phase. It should be something that's very, very regular and almost pulse or heartbeat like. We did have a situation in 2016 where we had a bit of a heart attack, really, in terms of what the atmosphere is doing, because we should have gone into an EC QBO and it failed, and we remained in the westerly QBO. But that's the only example that we think that's ever happened. But it just goes to show that occasionally things can go awry. But really the QBO should be very, very regular and very pulse-like. So the current situation is that we are going from a westerly to an easterly QBO. So this is 2019 just here. We have these positive numbers month by month showing the westerly QBO strengthening through most of 2019 until we get to the final months of the year. And then the positive numbers come down, and that begins a transition from the west to the east QBO. But it's not until we get to January 2020 that we get our first negative number. And these negative numbers have gradually been increasing month by month so far this year, but very, very slowly. So January 2020 comes out at minus 2.51. February 2020 comes out at minus 3.20. March 2020 comes out at minus 4.36, and April's QBO number is now in, and it's at minus 5.03. So it's a very, very slow transition, this one, into the EC QBO. Sometimes it happens very quickly. The last time we went from the west to the east QBO happened very quickly indeed. So this is 2017, the last time that we had this transition. Notice in April 2017 we're at plus 13.88, but by sort of July, August, we're down to minus 10.48 and minus 14.42. So that was a very rapid and quick transition into the EC phase of QBO. This one is a lot slower. It's proving quite slow to get it to bed. I think we can say minus 5.03. That is strong enough to say that we are in the EC phase of QBO. Actually, a few days ago, NASA went from EC QBO descending phase to EC QBO phase. So we are in the EC QBO now, but it is only very mild EC QBO at the moment. We can expect this EC QBO to strengthen over the next few months. As we get through to the autumn and into the winter, we will, or we should certainly, I think, be at a strong EC QBO phase. Yeah, but similar to this is 1988, 1989. So this 1988 just here starts with these positive numbers. That's the westerly QBO. Then we see these negative numbers appearing in the second half of 1988, but only very slightly negative for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then into 1989 again, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 months that are just very weakly easterly QBO. It's not until the middle of 1989 that suddenly the easterly QBO then really starts to strengthen and ramp up. And I think we'll see something similar like that with this EC QBO. Eventually it will strengthen and start ramping up, but it's quite a sluggish QBO, EC QBO transition, this one. But eventually we are going to see it powering up. This is from NASA, so where we've got these blue areas, that's the easterly QBO descending from the top of the atmosphere. This is like 10 HPA in the stratosphere. This is down on the floor. So this is the EC QBO descending in the last time it did it, from 2017 to 2018, which of course is a very rapid transition into EC QBOs we've established. This is the westerly QBO that we're just coming out of. And this is the latest. This is the sort of the latest. This is the EC QBO developing just here. The all important area is from 30 to 50 HPA, top of the sort of like the top of the troposphere, going down into the troposphere. So if we was having a quick transition into the easterly QBO, we would see this blue area here descending quickly as it does over here. We haven't had that. What we've had is these raggedy browny coloured areas just holding on at the top of the troposphere. That's westerly QBO clinging on by its fingertips. Lower down underneath that, we have seen the ECQBO powering up. Eventually, I think we'll see these blue areas sort of amalgamating, and we'll get rid of these raggedy brown coloured areas that are the continuing Westerly QBO that doesn't quite want to go. But it's taking its time. We are in the easterly phase of the QBO, but we will see it powering up. If we come up to the top of the screen, I'll just show you this. So NASA is saying QBO is in the easterly phase now. Up to like a few days ago, that was showing QBO is in descending easterly phase. So we've reached a sort of number at -5 for April that tells us that we are in the easterly QBO phase. Just a case now of waiting for it to power up. That could have more impacts as we get through to the end of the year, and particularly around the winter if we weaken the zona westerlies. Arctic oscillation observed and forecast looks like this. So black line shows where we've been with the AO, red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles forecasting the AO to go. Again, just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state when the Arctic oscillation is in its positive phase. We've got low pressure over pole when the Arctic oscillation is in its negative phase. We've got high pressure blocking over the pole. The current situation is that we're just weakly positive with the AO, that the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic oscillation to go into its negative phase. The AO is going to go negative as we move into the middle part of May. Probably not for all that long. It may start to pop back up to neutral again as we get through to the middle of the month. But certainly for a while, it looks like the AO is going negative. That could be associated with an increase in northern blocking somewhere like Greenland. The NEO at the same time is also forecast to go into a more negative phase by GFS ensembles. Again, the black line shows where we've been with the NEO, red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the NEO to go. We're weakly positive still, or as well, with the NEO as we are with the AO, but the GFS ensembles are forecasting the NEO to begin to dip down into a more negative phase as we go further on through the first half of May. So both of the indexes on the move. This could be a sign that things are going to go cooler and more unsettled by around the second week of May. Right, let's have a look at some charts then. And this is how the, actually I haven't got the ensembles up, have I? So I better pause the video there and we'll just have a very quick look at the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. So I'll see you very, very shortly. Right, sorry about that. I forgot to get the upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles up from a GFS. I've never done that before. Must have had other things on my mind this morning. Well, here we go. These are the upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for London for the next couple of weeks. The red line is a 30-year upper air temperature average for London. And we see the temperatures are actually going to start lifting up over the next few days. So it is going to gradually begin to get warmer as we run through the first week of May. But as we go through into the second week of May, it looks like we've got a reduction in the upper air temperatures ensembles. So sort of a clear divide actually from week 1 to week 2. Week 1 we've got a warming trend. Week 2 we appear to have a cooling trend. So next few days anyway should see temperatures lifting up, and then from the weekend onwards, long weekend of course, things could start getting a bit colder. Precipitation wise, pretty dry. This is, as I say, it's for London, so areas north and west of this could be more unsettled, but overall quite dry really with this ensemble graph through the next couple of weeks. There are precipitation spikes there, but there's not all that many of them. So yes, it looks like we're going to have a warming trend for the next few days, then a cooling trend into the second week of May, and overall relatively dry. Temperature anomalies from the 3rd through to the 11th of May, a little bit cooler than average, looking very cold across many northern parts of Europe, by the way. Scandinavia, again, standing out as being significantly cold. As I said earlier on in the video, they've had a very cold spring, and that's carrying on for the next week. Many parts of Europe below average. It's just really France, Spain, and Portugal that are warmer than average. We're sort of close to averages, which is perhaps a bit of a surprise, given the warming trend that we see here within this ensemble graph of the upper air temperatures. Precipitation anomalies, near normal to perhaps a bit wetter, particularly for some eastern parts of the country. So it's a bit of a change in what we've seen over the past couple of days. It does look as though things could be going a little bit more unsettled as we're heading into the second week of May, this from the 3rd to the 11th of May. Right, here's the charts then, and this is how the midnight run of the GFS was looking. 6 o'clock run is updating as we're speaking, but I haven't got time to show that in this video. So, Wednesday, we're under high pressure, mainly dry, and probably quite quite warm as well. Thursday, again, high pressure dominates the weather. Friday into weekend, gradually the high pressure is easing away and low pressure is coming in off the Atlantic. It's starting to turn more unsettled as we go through the weekend. Showers or long spells of rain could be expected there. Moving up towards day 10, eventually the high pressure begins to come back to our northeast. Low pressure getting blocked out to the west. Winds are sort of southeasterly, so temperatures probably relatively mild there. So a more unsettled interlude over the long weekend, and then back to more settled conditions by day 10. But then low pressure comes back in again as we get through to Thursday, 14th of May. So it's just beyond day 10. Low pressure coming in, turning more unsettled once more. And those unsettled conditions then carry on through into the end of this GFS run, gets us as far as Tuesday the 19th of May. So gradually around the middle part of the month in particular, and in the second half of the month, the signal from the GFS is to turn more unsettled. GEM looks like this. High pressure dominates on Wednesday, should be mainly dry and warm. Probably peak of temperatures is on Thursday. Then into Friday and over the weekend, it gradually starts to turn more unsettled. The GM is also keen to turn things colder. The GFS doesn't really show this, but the GM wants to pull in some colder winds from the northeast and take the high pressure up towards south of Greenland. So not only is that turning more unsettled, it's also turning colder as well in around a week's time. And then moving up to day 10, that's how we look. High pressure out to our west, low pressure to our east, northeast. It's cooler overall and probably not that unsettled though. High pressure is ridging just to our west with the GM. And then the ECMWF looks like this. So again, we've got high pressure dominating, bringing mostly dry and warm weather for Wednesday. Probably the peak of temperatures into below 20 Celsius perhaps on Thursday. We'll start to turn a little bit more unsettled as we move through into the weekend. Again, same idea with the ECM as what the GEM is showing. High pressure going up towards Greenland and Iceland. Starting to try and pull in some cold winds from the northeast. And we do actually go into quite a cold north to northeasterly there with the ECM as we get through to the beginning of the following week. This is Monday, the 11th of May. If I show you the upper air temperatures with this, you can see it's an unusually cold air mass for the 11th of May. We wouldn't normally have the minus 5 Celsius ice firm pushing through the country. It's probably overdone. It's probably an outlier. We'll have a look at the ECM Ensembles from the Icelandic Met Office in the live stream starting at 5 o'clock. So I'm holding those back for the live stream and have a look at them then and see how much support that cold northeasterly around the 11th of May has within the ECM Ensembles. As we move up towards day 10, that's how we look. Still keeping things quite cold. Really gradually the high pressure slipping southward, so slightly milder airs coming in around the top from the Atlantic. But we're still on the cool side of the ridge, really, even up to day 10, which is Wednesday the 13th of May. As I say, have a look at the ECM Ensembles for the live stream starting at 5 o'clock. We'll see how much support that potent northeasterly around day 7, 8, 9 has within the ECM Ensembles in the live stream. Just to have a look at CFSV2 before we go. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 3rd to the 9th of May. The coming week is really dominated by high pressure overall. It's not a particularly unsettled week. Quite a bit of ridging, but eventually this low pressure out to the west could start to bring some rather more unsettled conditions by the long weekend. Week 2 is the 10th through to the 16th of May with above average heights out to our west and our northwest, below average heights to our south and southeast. We're probably bringing a wind more from a northeasterly direction. That could be cooler and it could be rather unsettled, especially for more southern and eastern parts of the country. Week 3 is the 17th to 23rd of May with above average heights over Scandinavia, below average heights out to our west. We look unsettled and probably warmer there. Winds are light southwesterly, unsettled but probably warmer. And then week 4 is the 24th to the 30th of May with above average heights both to our south and east, bringing up a mild or even quite a warmish southwest wind and settling down probably. So rather a changeable May, but certainly some warm and dry weather on offer at times. Finally, this hour CFSV2 is currently forecasting June. This is June's 700 millibar height anomaly from a CFSV2. Go for a lot of high pressure within the northern latitudes. All of this red is northern blocking. It doesn't really show a corresponding trough of below average heights, low pressure, but this white area just here, kind of like Spain, and over here across central parts of Europe, that could eventually, if you do get this northern blocking, that could eventually get filled in with a trough of low pressure. So northern blocking in summer is always a bit of a concern. It is actually close enough to us to be keeping us mainly dry. You see how the ridge is sort of into Scotland and Northern Ireland anyway. So it's probably close enough to us on that scenario to keep us mainly dry. But northern blocking is always a concern in the summer in case you get a trough setting up underneath it. Temperature anomalies for June a little bit above average of CFS, and no particular signal for precipitation anomalies, except perhaps off slightly on the drier side. But that is very extensive blocking within the northern latitudes that we see there with those red colours, and that is always a little bit of a concern in the summer if you want a warm dry pattern than the summer, because as I say, what tends to happen is that you get a trough setting up underneath the northern blocking, and those troughs can become rather stationary and bring quite a lot of rain in the summer due to the fact that the atmosphere is relatively warm and there's a lot of energy available. But let's not worry about June, too far away to be concerned about that at this stage. Right, that's it for this week's GWV Sunday Round Up. I hope you found it interesting and informative. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on video, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then you'll be notified when we are uploading and releasing videos, and also live streaming. And talking of live streaming, we're going to be back from 5 o'clock with our latest live stream, so we'll check in and see how we're all doing during the lockdown. So come back for that from 5. Come back for that from 5. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.